give Dustin a paper every Sunday morning so he knows when to change the slide. I forgot to give it to him. What are fathers made of? Today is Father's Day. I want to start with a thing Paul Harvey did. Who remembers who Paul Harvey was? Yeah, Miss Paul Harvey. So this is what he said. A father is a thing that is forced to endure childbirth without an anesthetic. A father is a thing that growls when it feels good, laughs very loud when it's scared half to death. A father never feels entirely worthy of the worship in a child's eyes. He's never quite the hero his daughter thinks, never quite the man his son believes him to be, and this worries him sometimes. So he works too hard to try and smooth the rough places in the road for those of his own who will follow him. A father is a thing that gets very angry when the first school grades aren't as good as he thinks they should be. He scolds his son, though he knows it's a teacher's fault. Fathers are what give daughters away to other men who aren't nearly good enough so they can have grandkids who are smarter than anybody's. Fathers make bets with insurance companies about who will live the longest, though they know the odds. They keep right on betting, and one day they lose. I don't know where fathers go when they die, but I have an idea that after a good rest, wherever it is, he won't be happy unless there's work to do. He won't just sit on a cloud and wait for the girl he's loved and children she's bore. He'll be busy there too, repairing the stairs, oiling the gates, improving the streets, smoothing the way. Paul Harvey, good day. I always like that. Now, this morning I'm going to be using the ESV I use every week. There will also be some on the screen from the message. It'll be the MSG. Simply because sometimes I can use that because it's more like the way we talk. So the message isn't a translation, just so you know, the message is a paraphrase. So instead of me just telling it, sometimes I read it. All right. Today is Father's Day, and I want to talk to you about the importance of leading by example. I decided to use pictures of lines. Sometimes dads just have to be a line. We all learn by example. We're doing a new training at the hospital for hospice. I've always handwritten all my reports. Now it's all going to be computerized. And having to go through all this training to be able to do it, and I'm just like, that's fine, that's good, but I won't really learn it until I start doing it. Why? Because I learn by doing, right? We lead by example. Kids watch what we do. Our kids watch the example that we give. The example that we give them, they watch. Okay? So we all learn by example of someone else. Somebody shows me this new program, I see them actually doing it, I will actually learn some, but I'll learn better by hands-on, right? I learned about how to be a father from my own dad, from my grandfathers, from my wife's dad. My own dad, he taught by example, not always the best one. Okay? We can all fall into that category, I'm sure. I didn't always learn the best example, but I did learn one. He would send us off to church on Sunday evenings with our mother, and he would stay home and watch The Wonderful World of Disney and Bonanza. Oh, how I wanted to stay home and watch The Wonderful World of Disney and Bonanza with my dad. But he would go to church with us. Mother took all 5 of his kids, and off to church we went. The example he gave was one of not going to church. My mother's example was one of going to church. We learn by example. We lead by example, for better or for worse. Now, Dad, I want you to think about something. I want you to think about the worst part of your life, that part of your life that just disgusts you the most. Maybe the part of your life you believe is secret, it's hidden, nobody knows about it. Maybe it's that part of your life your wife hounds you about. You're thinking about it now, aren't you? Now, is that what you want your child or grandchild or nephew or niece to be or to act like when they grow up? Because I guarantee you that they see it even when we don't think they do, and they learn and they imitate. I catch my grandkids saying stupid phrases that I say. I'm like, my daughter's going like this. Psalm chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. What does that mean? Blessed is the man who doesn't walk in a sinful way, but delights himself in the ways of God. We lead by example. The question is, what kind of example are you? This morning I want to look at a man who led by example. As a matter of fact, the person who was watching him admired him so much that he wanted to be him times 2. He wanted to be this man double. The first man we're going to look at is named Elijah. The first time we hear about Elijah is in 1 Kings chapter 17, verses 1 through 4. Now Elijah the Tishbite of Tishbe in Gilead, that's where I want to move to, said to Ahab, as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall be neither dew nor rain these years, except by my word. And the word of the Lord came to him, depart from here and turn eastward and hide yourself by the brook Cherith, which is the east side of the Jordan. You shall drink from the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. So this is the first time we even see who Elijah is. He's a prophet of God, and he doesn't like what Ahab is doing. And he tells Ahab, hey, there's going to be a bit of rain, not a bit of dew until I say so. We just came through a bad drought. Imagine being worse. A lot worse. And he says, this is what's going to happen. Not going to happen rain again until I say it. And then God says, hey, you go to these hills, you'll drink from that river, I'll send ravens with food. That's pretty cool. Waiting for the birds to come feed you every day. Right? Now Elijah got to do all kinds of cool stuff, man. He like I said, had been fed by the ravens when the creek dried up. God sent him to this widow who had just enough oil and flour to bake her and her son a little bit of bread, and they're going to eat this bread and they were going to die. They had no money, no more food. They were going to eat this little dab of food and lay down and die. That's the best they could hope for. As I said, there was a drought in the land because Elijah said it's not going to rain, and they had just enough of this. Well, he shows up and he tells them, hey, that's pretty cool what you want to do, but before you make your food, make me some. If I'm lying, I'm dying. This may sound a bit stingy or whatever you want to call it, but then he says something really cool. In 1 Kings 17, 13 through 16. Elijah said here, do not fear, go and do as you have said, but first, make me a little cake of it, bring it to me, and afterward, make something for yourself and your son. She just told me don't have enough of that. Let's continue. For thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, the jar of flour shall not be spent, and the jug of oil shall not be empty until the day that the Lord sends rain upon the earth. And she went and did as Elijah said, as he and he and her household ate for many days. The jar of flour was not spent, neither did the jug of oil become empty, according to the word of the Lord that spoke by Elijah. So she made his first, and then he said it's not going to run out. So the duration of this drought, she just kept going back to the same flour, and it was there. And the oil, she'd pour it all out. Next time, it was there. That's cool. That's just cool. I mean, Elijah said this is what's going to happen, and that's the way it worked. That's what happened. Then later on, her son does die. Elijah prays. He comes back to life. They say you got to do all kinds of cool stuff. He goes up against the prophets of Baal. The prophets of Baal, they're just bad folks. Okay? There's 450 of these guys. As they prepared a sacrifice to their god Baal, they each built an altar. Elijah had one, the 450 prophets had one, and they sacrificed a bull in each one, laid wood on it, but they didn't put any fire to it. Because Elijah said, you call to your God, I'll call to mine. So these 450 prophets went out there and started crying to their God, oh, send the fire for the sacrifice, and nothing happened. And all day long they were screaming and crying, they were cutting themselves, and they were just doing all kinds of things to make their God respond. And the whole time Elijah was making fun of them. Maybe he's asleep. Yell louder. He probably went on vacation. Oh wait, he's probably in the bathroom. That's what he said. He said maybe he's relieving himself. He gets to make fun of these guys and nothing happens. Nothing. Then Elijah said, enough of that mess, it's my turn. Gather around. And he put wood on the altar. He cut the bull in half, dug a trench, a wide trench around it. And he had these men fill up these buckets, and they poured water in the trench and on the wood and on the sacrifices, drenched everything. Had water everywhere. And then Elijah said, oh God, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, make it known right now that you are God in Israel, that I am your servant, that I'm doing what I'm doing under your orders. Answer that you are giving these people another chance at repentance. Immediately the fire of God fell, burned up the offering, the wood, the stones, the dirt, even the water in the trench. That was cool. And then he had all the prophets of Baal put to death. All 450 of these guys that were leading the people wrong. And he told the king, up on your feet, eat and drink, celebrate. Rain is on the way. I hear it coming. Man, as I told you, you got to do all kinds of cool stuff. But one of the neatest things is towards the end of his life. God told him who would take his place. God showed him who's going to take his place. God also told him who to anoint as king of Syria and king of Israel. Right? We're going to turn over to chapter 19, verses 15, 16. And the Lord said to him, go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael to be king over Syria, and Jehu, the son of Nimshi, you shall anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha, son of Shaphat, and I love these names, and Abimelech, and you shall anoint to be prophet in your place. So God told him, go anoint these three men. The last one's taking your place. The last one's taking your place. Then in verse 21, then he arose and went after Elijah and his sister. So Elisha goes chasing after Elijah to be with him. Why? We'll see. Turn to 2 Kings. Chapter 2. Verses 9 and 10. When they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, "Ask what I shall do for you before I am taken from you." And Elisha said, "Please, let there be a double portion of your spirit on me." See, you want to be Elijah double. And he said, "You have asked a hard thing, yet if you see me as I am being taken from you, it shall be so for you. But if you do not see me, it shall not be so." Why do you think Elisha was staying with him? I'm going to see you and God takes you up. I'm going to see you and God takes you. I'm not going to hear about it. I want to see it. And so he is sticking to him like bubble gum on your shoe, man. He is with him. He is there. Verses 11 and 12. And as they still went on and talked, behold, chariots of fire and horses of fire separated the two of them. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen. And he saw him no more. And the cloak of Elijah fell, and Elisha tore his own clothes in two, and put the cloak of Elijah on him, and had double portion. Double. Let me tell you, if you lead by example in such a way, the person watching you wants to be twice what you are. I want to be just like you, except double. That means you better have your ducks in a row. Right? Elijah lived as a good example for Elisha. What kind of example are you? Proverbs 20, verses 6 and 7, many a man claims to have unfailing love, but a faithful man who can find? The righteous man leads a blameless life. Blessed are his children after him. Proverbs 13:24, he who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is careful to discipline him. That didn't mean we're supposed to go around and beat on our kids. How do I know that? Well, because Ephesians 6:4 says, fathers, don't irritate your children and make them resentful. Instead, raise them up with the Lord's kind of discipline and guidance. And if we're mean to them, they become resentful. Always got to be in love. Dads, I'm going to tell you something right now. Hear me. You are important. You are important. J.B. Buchanan tells a story in his book, Power for Living. It was a story first told by Fred Craddock, who was lecturing at Yale University. He told of going back one summer to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, to take a short vacation with his wife. One night they found a quiet little restaurant where they'd looked forward to a private meal, just the two of them. While they were waiting for their meal, they noticed this distinguished-looking, white-haired man moving from table to table, visiting with everybody. And Craddock whispered to his wife, I hope he doesn't come over here. He didn't want the man to intrude upon their privacy, but the man did come to their table. Where are you folks from? He asked. Oklahoma. Splendid state, I hear. Although I've never been there, what do you do for a living? I teach homiletics at the graduate seminary of Phillips University. Oh, so you teach preachers. Well, I've got a story I want to tell you. With that, he pulled up a chair and sat down with Craddock and his wife. Dr. Craddock said, inwardly he groaned, oh, here comes another preacher story. Everybody seems to have them. The man stuck out his hand. I'm Ben Hooper. I was born not far from here, across the mountains. My mother wasn't married when I was born, so I had a hard time. When I started to school, my classmates had a name for me, and it wasn't a very nice name. I used to go off by myself at recess and during lunchtime because the taunts of my playmates cut so deeply. What was the worst was going downtown on Saturday afternoon feeling every eye burning a hole through me. They were all wondering just who my real father was. When I was about 12 years old, a new preacher came to our church. I was always good at going in late and slipping out early. But one day the preacher said the benediction so fast I got caught. Had to walk out with the crowd. I could feel every eye in the church on me. Just about the time I got to the door, I felt a big hand on my shoulder. I looked and the preacher was looking right at me. Who are you, son? Whose boy are you? I felt the old weight come on me. It was like a big black cloud. Even the preacher was putting me down. But as he looked down on me, studying my face, he began to smile, a big smile of recognition. Wait a minute, he said. I know who you are. I see the family resemblance. You are a son of God. With that, he slapped me across the rump and said, boy, you've got a great inheritance. Go and claim it. The old man looked across the table at Fred and his wife and said, that was the most important single sentence ever said to me. With that, he smiled, shook the hands of Craddock and his wife, and moved on to the table to greet old friends. Suddenly, Fred Craddock remembered. On 2 occasions, the people of Tennessee had elected an illegitimate as their governor. One of those was Ben Hooper. There's a Spanish story of a father's son who became estranged. The son ran away and the father set off to find him. He searched for months, but to no avail. Finally, in a last desperate effort to find him, the father put an ad in the Madrid newspaper. The ad simply read, Dear Paco, meet me in front of the newspaper office at noon on Saturday. All is forgiven. I love you, your father. On Saturday, 800 Pecoses showed up. They were all looking for forgiveness and love from their dad. Dad, you are that important. Did you know that 93% of the time your family will follow you when you come to Christ and when you come to church? 93% of the time. When the mom comes to Christ first, only 17% of the time will the family follow her. And only 3.5% of the time will the family follow another family member or friend. Dad, yes, you are that important. 93%. Why do you think the enemy wants to destroy dads today and make them think they are unimportant? Why do you think we live in a time of gender confusion? And Satan is trying to make everyone think there's something that they're not. If Satan can take the dad out of the picture or make him look feminine, he can do damage to the family he couldn't do any other way. Without a dad in the picture, it's easier to trick or trap the mom and the kids. Why do you think so many girls run off looking for whatever somebody else has told them love is? It's a dad's job to show our girls what real love is. We show them by loving their mamas. We show our girls unconditional love, not conditional as the world has. They need to know what the comfort and strength of real love is so they can't be fooled. When a family has a God-fearing dad, it has a protector, and Satan doesn't stand a chance. especially when that family has a God-fearing, Bible-reading, church-attending, praying mother and dad. When you take the dad out of the picture, it's 10 times more difficult for the mother to raise her kids to fear and follow God. It can be done. And it is done. And I tip my hat to the moms that do it, because they have 2 jobs to take care of. Satan's doing everything he can to make masculine men look bad and make them look like they're some kind of Neanderthal, anti-feminine slob. A real man loves the femininity of his wife. But hear me, God made men to be men. God made men to be men. Men are made to work hard, get dirty, to build things, to get done, look back and say, job well done. Or as I do too often, I made that mistake, I won't do it again. Ladies, the absolute worst thing you can do is to try to tone your man down. He isn't made like you. He can't act like you. He doesn't talk like you. And quite honestly, you wouldn't want him to. If you changed your man, then you'd complain he wasn't the man you married. No, he isn't. That guy was emasculated. Let your man be a man. Will he get hurt? Yep, he will. He'll get hurt. Let me tell you a secret. That's the fun of being a man. Why? Because battle scars are bragging rights. And yes, when he gets hurt, he just might need some love and sympathy from you, but that's also part of the fun. Let men be men. Let dads be dads. Dads are going to wrestle with the kids. Yeah, the kids are going to get hurt. Yeah, he's going to be in trouble for it. It happens. But the kids have to do it too. Just remember, he's not trying to get dead. He just wants to impress you. He wants to make you smile. He wants you to be proud of him. Now, ladies, I want to ask you, what is it your man needs? What is it God made your man to need? One word, respect. All too often, the husbands don't get the respect they need, to be quite honest, that they deserve. If you watch TTV, the dads, they don't get the respect they should be getting, and they're made to be something that doesn't really resemble a man. I mean, they might look like a man, but they can't make a decision or do anything, and they do it, it's always wrong. Women want and women need to be loved. That's why God made women. They want to be cherished. That's the way God made them. But God also made men to receive respect. Now, wives, don't fall into that trap of saying, well, I'll show him respect when he deserves it. You married him, you should already deserve it. What if he said, okay, I'll show her the love she needs when she deserves it? Well, that's a whole different thing, isn't it? No? If you married her, she already deserves it. Are you with me? What happens when the men don't receive the respect they need at home? They gravitate to where they do receive it. If that's out with the guys, if that's at work, if that's at a bar, if that's at... Let me tell you, they receive the ultimate respect at home. They will gravitate to that. Men must be men. Women don't really understand us. Sometimes we don't really understand ourselves. But don't take it to heart, because we don't understand you either. What do? We just keep on going. I'm going to do something this morning.